welcome to ArcisFX Live.
Hello and welcome to whoever is watching. Let us know in the comments if you are alive and kicking with me today on this Crypto Friday. It's been an interesting week, an interesting couple of weeks actually. So let's jump straight in, and if we get some questions, I will be happy to take them. Oh, hi Lola, thanks. Morning where you are. It's afternoon for me. So let us know where you are in the world right now. But let's have a look at Bitcoin to get started, as it's been a bit of an interesting week or two for Bitcoin. So the first thing to talk about with Bitcoin this week is this run up, this very quick, not particularly organic run up in the price action. So ultimately, we had perfectly normal movement on the breakout of this trading range at the bottom, essentially following Bitcoin's retrace back at the end of September. And then we had a breakout and we broke through the 4-hour 200 MA again, and then we retested it. But that was pretty much the last time Bitcoin actually did anything organic. And then all of this is very much just breaking through, not rechecking key levels. So the price action breaks up, doesn't recheck 115K, it breaks up again, doesn't properly check 118K, and it just continues doing this all on its way up. Now, this is partly responsible for Bitcoin dominance for going up essentially over the last few days and the last few weeks. Now, that's because ultimately not all Bitcoin rallies are created equal. And I think I've just lost that chart again, which is extremely helpful. Let me find that again. Totally disorganized. We'll have a look at that bit later. Where are we again? Always my organization in charts is all over the place. Let's just find that chart we were just looking at. That's quite funny. Where is it? See how long, everyone post in the comments how long it's going to take me to find this chart. That can be the tease of the session. The chart I was just looking at, that's bizarre. Always happens to me. There it is. Got it. Thank you. It's right in the middle. Morning, Sarah. Great to have you with us. Let us know what you're trading at the moment. Let us know where you are in the world. That'd be great. So as a result of this very quick movement, like a house of cards sort of movement, it's very difficult to trade. So altcoin traders are like, well, hang on a minute, you're not giving me any possible entrances. And the higher this goes, as quickly as it goes, by every dollar it goes up, there is more risk involved in entering altcoin positions. And therefore, that's why Bitcoin dominance ultimately hasn't been very supportive of altcoins by going up a little bit into like a bear pennant of something, which is typically good for altcoins, but we need that bear pennant to break down. Now, this is the sort of rally which we don't really want to see. What we do want to see is we want to see a nice organic rally which goes up like this, checks all the levels on the way up, and so forth. This is very difficult to trade, so that's why altcoins haven't been moving over the last few weeks. I just wanted to talk about that very briefly. Now, where are we today? Where are we this Friday at the back end of the week? Well, basic trend dynamics are a splash of cold water to any of that fervor which is going around at the moment, because like clockwork, as a tutor, this is what happens. Bitcoin makes some strong moves, and I get an influx of students wanting to learn about crypto, right? And then when the market is down, when there's prime opportunities to buy and enter positions, then no fresh students are getting in touch, at least not at the rate they do when everything goes to the moon. And you see all of these articles, Bitcoin's going to the moon, where will it stop? And it's just like, everyone just needs to calm down a little bit, right? Because look, here we are. We've had a lower high, we've had a lower low, which is basic trend dynamics. And if we look at the bell curve of the market cycle, this is markup, this is distribution, this is marked down. Now, I'm not suggesting Bitcoin's coming all the way back down here, but we just need to chill out a little bit. So right now, we have some possible bullish divergence, a few instances actually, which are only one with the RSI I'm showing here, but there is a couple with a potential sloped double bottom of sorts, which could see a move up from here for sure. But if you put yourself in the minds of investors and buyers, where is the best place to buy? Where do you want to get in? Right, and ultimately the first line, the first area is going to be around 118k. Right, it hasn't been tapped yet since we broke up. It's significant resistance and has acted as support as well. So it's just a waiting game at the moment, and this is definitely Bitcoin in no man's land. And this divergence isn't enough to make me think that this lower high or lower low it's just going to be instantly invalidated with a strong move up from there. So I mean, you could chart this. You could maybe just have a couple of lines here to see which direction it goes in. But right now, I think this is 118 is on the cards, and that's what we need to wait for. So a little bit frustrating, really, because it's organic, natural price action we want, and obviously because what's causing this rally. What's causing it? Well, a few factors. We've got the issues in the United States with the government shutdown. That is pushing people towards store of value assets, which is why silver is extremely high, the highest it's been in a long time at the moment. Gold's the same, and Bitcoin is no different. So what's going to happen when the government reopens, right? And then all of the fallout from the issues that will and has caused in terms of the economy. And it's going to be interesting to see how Bitcoin responds. Are we just going to have a complete reset all the way back down to where we were, or what's going to happen? I don't know, but you just have to take all of this with a pinch of salt, and Bitcoin will come down. It will give you another entrance, and that's the way you need to look at it. Now, of course, if Bitcoin ascends above, previous all-time highs, and of course, this 118k area doesn't factor in, right? It means that ultimately that this is less likely to be tapped. But right now, 118k is the next line of the sand, and we're getting closer to altcoin season. Lola. Well, let's have a look at Bitcoin dominance. If I can find it first time, what an achievement I did. So we're looking for this lower low. Essentially, we want Bitcoin dominance to break out of this bear pennant, and essentially have the green candles continue, which is green going down for Bitcoin dominance, right? So we haven't had that. Now we did have a fake out. We did have Bitcoin dominance trying to break to the upside, which would have been really, really bad for altcoins. Hi, Control Alt Alpha. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Always good to see friendly people. In fact, I'll take unfriendly people right now. but it didn't manage to do that. It was a bit of a fake out. Now, if you have a breakdown here out of this bear pennant, that might be continued altcoin action. But we do need a lower low. We need to focus on just the basics of trends when we're not quite sure what we're going to do. And then that might allow altcoins to run. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't had some good run-ups. We've had a top altcoin pick a couple of weeks ago, has put in tremendous gains, 300 or so% increases, but that's not the norm at the moment. There's plenty of mainstream tokens like Render, Solana, whatever, which are struggling to make any bullish moves based on Bitcoin's recent price action, because again, it wasn't organic. So you're looking for this pattern, Lola. You're looking to draw this on your chart and wait for a breakdown. But of course, it's not quite as simple as that, because look, here's a little fake out here as well. So you just want to see, a lower low. That's great. And then a lower high. And then once you see that, then we can maybe start entering positions there. So that's the general vibe. Now, what's the other thing I've got? Okay, so I wanted to talk about BNB. And if you guys want me to have a look at something while I'm doing this, just chime in and I'll jump to that. But let's just try and find BNB because we had an interesting conversation in our private group at ArcisFX regarding BNB. Now let's see if I can find the latest chart. September looks pretty good for BNB. And yes, just a little, that's not it at all. If you're not in the private group, it's a wonderful community. There should be a link in the description to join. We'd love to have you. Loads of people have been signing up recently. It's a really fantastic place to be. Lots of trading insights, not just for crypto, but for commodities as well, with James's leadership. So please look in the description if you're not already in the group. It would be, would love to have you. The more the merrier. But let's just try and get BNB loaded up while you all watch me navigate with TradingView. Let's have a look. So that should be this one, but it wasn't. So something's a bit dodgy here. Let's try it again. See if there's a problem. Why is it loading a Bitcoin dollars? That's a bit okay. So let's just load up a blank chart of. Don't understand what's happening with BNB. I want to get that right chart up for you. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Let's have a look. BNB. Let's try and get that loaded up again. Okay. Let's try the February one. All right, let's try the February one. Okay, that's fine. It's the February one. Okay, so this is BNB. This is Binance token. Now, I'm quite fond of Binance token because it made me a load of money in the last cycle. 50x sort of thing. Really, really great. Really great thing. No, but I bought it when it was like I sold it around here, and I not around here, but around here, and I bought it when it was like $12, and it's now even higher than what it was. Let's have a look. What's the current price? High is 1278. So let's just correct this. 1278. This is BNB 1278. So yeah, BNB doing really good. Now I noticed in one of our flow traders in our community commented on Binance token and said, lots of manipulation. Why is this happening? This is a bit strange. And for sure, there's loads of manipulation in crypto. There's loads of all this kind of stuff. But I don't think that's particularly reason why Binance token is bullish. It enters price discovery quite a while ago, over the summer. So what does this mean? Price discovery, of course, means that it's entering a territory it's never been in terms of high prices. Now, when you see in a bull market, you'll typically see Coinbase stock increase. You'll typically see Binance token, which is essentially the equivalent of stock for Binance, go up as well. So because of course more trading activity, is good, and a lot of the regulation, the hurdles with regard to regulation, which Binance and its founder have been encountering over the last few years, very serious issues. Of course, with the new head of the SEC out of the United States, all of that has been ultimately calmed down, and there's less fear of some of the repercussions which Binance token had previously suffered as a result of attempts to regulate it and deal with potentially bad practice behind the scenes. So all of that has contributed to these price increases, and I think it's more natural than perhaps you think it is, for that reason, as it is a barometer for the health of the market, it's a barometer for the bullish nature of the market, and it's a barometer for the state of regulation in the United States, certainly, but in the wider world, which is of course becoming more open and easier, of course, for these exchanges to function. So I just wanted to address that because it's quite an interesting concept to think about. But look at BNB as Binance stock in that respect, and but obviously don't chase this. If you're going to think of entering this trade, or you want to try and get in on Binance token, then you're not coming in here, right? I mean, it looks like maybe the next line in the sand for it to retrace to is probably around here, maybe around 900, right? So obviously don't chase this, draw a line in the sand, figure where you think it's going to retrace the most, put some fib levels on, and that'll be it. But yeah, just want to talk about Binance token very briefly. Now, also the other thing I wanted to talk about, and if you're interested in some altcoin setups, check out the altcoin picks video from yesterday, as that's got some stuff. But I have got 2 new exclusive setups just for this live stream for you today, so hang around for that. And of course, let us know in the comments what you're trading at the moment, what you're looking to trade, and any tokens you want me to have a look at, and we'll jump straight into that. Right, but there's a question which was posed in our group by some really great people. But the question was, it's a language which people use. Is it safe? Is it safe to enter here? Is it safe to trade? I think the question may have been about C98. But let's see if I can find C98. Here it is. So I'm looking to enter this trade. This is C98. Oh yeah, sorry, Lola, you've already mentioned C98. So I'm already there. So I have a limit buy order for a futures position on C98, and it hasn't quite been filled. I'm just waiting for it to just drop down to this 200 MA, but you can see the orange dashed line, and around 536 is my entrance. And the premise of this trade, of course, is we've had a strong breakout surpassing all of these previous highs. We've broken out of this pattern, as well as the 200 MA on the daily, which means you've got a lot of confluence on the flip side for the resistance to support flip, the SR flip. So I'm trying to capitalize on that by coming in here with a lot of support. There'll be a lot of buyers on the 200 MA. There'll be a lot of buyers on the breakout of this triangle pattern, and also this is also a horizontal level as well, which has previously been acting as support and resistance. So lots of confluence. Now the question was, I got, is it safe? Is it safe to buy? Nothing in crypto is safe. No trading position is 100% safe. All you can do is stack probabilities in your favor. Now, I don't really want to go around and just like slapping wrists because of the language people use, but if it impacts your mindset, then it's something you need to deal with. There is no safe trade. There is no safe entrance. There is just safer entrances, better entrances, and entrances which are supportive of good, robust risk management, like C98 is, because we have a lot of confidence, a lot of bullish ideas. Now, if Bitcoin Bitcoin has had a retrace. It's pushed C98 back down to where I want it to be. But if Bitcoin continues lower to 118K, this is going to put some pressure on. This is going to put some pressure on here. But speaking of Bitcoin dominance, as we were a moment ago, if Bitcoin can just calm down and stay kind of where it is, but stay, in the range above 118K, but remain quite bullish without any steep drops or anything, then you'll find Bitcoin dominance will start to tip downwards, giving a bit of money and a bit of love to the altcoins. And we might not necessarily get a steep, any further deep, hard retraces from like C98 or other altcoins if Bitcoin takes a move lower, because it's now come down from the top of the kind of house of cards it was at, and it's now trying to find stability, and it's been stuck for a few days now in the same place, which can be beneficial to altcoins, because Bitcoin going up organically is good for altcoin movement, right? As long as Bitcoin dominance is playing along. But Bitcoin shooting up is not, and Bitcoin shooting down is not. But Bitcoin just sitting with a bullish posture in a good place, after a run up, that's great. That's really good for altcoins. And we might see we do get a little bit of love here. And this is what I'm trying to get capitalized on with C98. But is it a safe entrance? It's a good entrance. It's a highly probable entrance, and it's good for risk management. But crypto, safe, not so much. So just be very cautious about this, the language we're using, because when we're entering trades, it's all about risk management. It's never about, is this going to happen? It's about, can I control risk? Does this entrance or entry point or level allow me to control risk? So that's the whole game there. And I'm not trying to split hairs again about language, but I think it's very important as a coach and as a mentor, trying to get people to the right mindset, especially if you're coming from a more traditional stock or commodities background, because it is a different game completely. So C98, it's really good setup. I'm still waiting for that to come into play, but it's a really good setup, not because it's safe, but because it gives me a lot of options for risk management. So thanks, Lola, for that. Great minds think alike. Right. Okay. Let's have a look at Bitcoin in a little bit more detail and see if we've got any more questions coming up. Let's just zip through some Bitcoin charts and find the one which we find the most attractive. So obviously this is the 12-hour chart at the moment, and a perfectly normal organic retrace to 118K on these higher time frames makes perfect sense, right? So always give yourself a bit of reality check before and don't get caught in the fervor. But here you go. Here is because I know some traders who have came in right at the top, right, between about 123 and 124, and I'm just like, why, right? Why? This is where you want to get in. This is where you want to get in, and then maybe if you get a retrace, this is where you want to go in. But there might be a bull flag here, right? There might be a bull flag. I had this question: is there a bull flag? And I said no, there isn't, but now there is. So there's a nice little classic sort of bull flag here. So we could see a breakout, but again, we're not guessing. We're not going to be like, I want to get in on Bitcoin now. I don't want to miss out. What we're going to do is we're going to draw these lines in the sand, and if Bitcoin does break up, then we look to enter because we've had bullish confirmation. That's fine, but you need to have something as opposed to just, I think Bitcoin's going up, therefore I'm going to enter. So we can wait to see if we get the breakout of this bull flag, or we might find it comes all the way back down to here and then breaks out. And that would be good in terms of just for altcoins in the market in general, because it'd be quite manageable. So we got about bull flag for sure. So we could head up from here, and we have entered on the 4-hour chart our first ideal retracement zone, which is at around 120 to 121K at this resistance, at this support or resistance level. It's a bit of a tall order, to be honest, for Bitcoin to be able to move up from here. Although there is not that much selling activity, if I'm honest. Looking at some of the on-chain data, that the selling activity isn't as great as you would imagine. So there's a lot of bullish fervor at the moment, and the RSI cooling off to the way it is, following this double top, highlights the fact that when the RSI resets quite quickly, that shows you that there's a lot of momentum behind the token, because you might not be able to see. I mean, if you know that the formula for the RSI and how it works, then you can understand where it's coming from. But the RSI is very helpful to highlight, you can go and look on exchanges, you can go and look on whale movements and on-chain data, try and figure out what the selling activity is, heat maps and all that kind of stuff. But you look at the RSI, and if the RSI is cooling off pretty quickly, despite the price action not doing the same and holding its own, you know that there's a lot of buyers coming in if you understand how the formula works, because the RSI has an insight into the price action that you don't by just staring at these basic candles. But nonetheless, we've got these three boxes: bullish, moderate, bearish. Okay, and we've had a very strong run up. And what's the ideal sort of retracement for crypto? 40 to 50%. And that would be here, 118K. So that's another reasoning that we're going to see 118K, although some people are looking to come in around the 120 level with this order block. Let's have a look at another chart. There's the bull flag. Yeah, this is another 4-hour chart. Again, we've had these two lines in the sand. We broke the red one. We've put in a bearish retest. And now, again, we're coming back down unless we see something different. But there was another chart. This is it. Here we go. So this is another sort of thing you can do. This is Bitcoin 12-hour chart. And just have a look at those three options, which I've put on there while I have a sip of coffee. So when you're trying to assess entrances, you have to visualize them. We have one possible entrance here, which is where the price action is tapping at the moment, around the 120K level. Then we have the 118, which is lined up with the point of control. Then we have the more bearish scenario, which still maintains a bullish context, the retesting of this diagonal support line, which would take the price action potentially down to 112K, which was previous all-time high. So there's a lot of options for Bitcoin. So, a bounce from here would be very bullish. Am I bullish? Am I that bullish? No, I'm not, because the context of why Bitcoin is doing this is slightly muddy. But a retrace back down to 118, as we talked about, now that makes sense to me. That's a nice balance between the bears having their day, the bulls taking back control, as opposed to a hard reset, which would be if we come all the way down here, which I'm not sure is particularly likely. But this level hasn't been tapped yet at all, and it's a very significant level. So drawing these options on your chart can help. But also, if you scale in, right, then this is your scaling in plan, right? So you can come in with, I don't know, 33% of your intended position here. And if Bitcoin bounces, great, you're in the money. Or you can enter 33% of your position here, and then the price action comes down, and then you enter another 33%, and then you can scoop it up like that. That's a safe play. That gives you a good low average price, and you're managing risk. But of course, you can also come in here with 33%, come in here with 33%, then if it comes down here, come in here with 33%. But if you do just get the move you think is going to happen, and then you can add your final position on a final sort of bullish confirmation before it goes up and head up from there. So scaling in is a very helpful strategy to keep your emotions in check, but also it gives you so many more options with risk management. Now, we've talked about this before, but let me just explain what that means. So you enter your first position here, right? 33%, say it's $1,000, right? You're buying in Bitcoin, right? $333 or pounds, or wherever you are. And then the price action comes down and you're in loss. But then you come in again with another 33%, another $333 or whatever. Now, if you feel the narrative has changed and that you want to exit your positions, right, to wait this because you think it's going to come in lower, right, then what you can do is you don't have to wait for Bitcoin to come all the way back up to your first entrance point to get out, because you can offset the losses from this move below your first entrance with the profits from this one. So you only really need the price action to come up to the halfway point, and then you can exit at no loss at a lower position to your first entry, simply because you came in with the second position lower down, which gives you a lot more control, and it stops you panicking when something heads down. So that's quite an interesting chart to take into account for Bitcoin. Let's have a look at what else we've got. That's not a particularly relevant chart right now. That's not a particularly relevant chart right now. So yeah, it's very important to plan these things in your minds. And there's also something which Bitcoin has been approaching 3 years in a bullish context. So if we just bring up a fresh blank Bitcoin chart and put it to, say, I don't know, the 5-day. Okay, let's have a look. So how long has Bitcoin been in an uptrend on the primary? Let's have a look. It's been, let's just get the thing. Let's have a look. So if we think it starts off around here, you could argue it's the end of 2022, the start of 23. And that's almost, we're approaching 3 years of being in a bull market. Now, a lot of asset classes throughout history, or rather the last 100 years or so, have that last more than 2 years in a bull cycle, typically can last a lot longer. And all the conversations with regard to Bitcoin in terms of, are the 4-year cycle broken? Is Bitcoin just going to be going all the way up here, or are we going to have these micro bull runs throughout every few months. What is it going to look like? Well, assets which have broken the mold and had bull runs lasting longer than 2 years typically have lasted a lot longer. And you look at some of the, like silver and so forth and gold, and they're examples of that. And Bitcoin's mainstream adoption may actually doing that. So it's interesting to see when people are thinking this is it, this is the end of the bull run. When the reality is that Bitcoin's price action and the length of time it's been in an uptrend is actually quite insightful into what we can expect. So if you don't think Bitcoin can continue up from here, well, I'm not saying it will, but you may be mistaken. But let's have a look at some fresh altcoin setups, unless anyone has got something they want me to have a look at. These are a couple of exclusives which I've just got ready for you guys today, just for the live stream. I will, of course, put them in our private group a little bit later. But they are just for you right now. So this is BAT USDT daily, an altcoin setup, and we're quite low down. This is just a big picture. So just let's have a look. We are very low down. This is pretty much the floor, and we're just having bullish confirmation now of breaking out of that range. And what we want to see, of course, is a move out of this pattern, which we've seen, and probably needs to be a bit more. And then we want to have a retest entry. Now you see this dashed line here. Now this isn't a perfect safe this is not an ideal setup. There's a few issues. There's a bit of ambiguity. So this is a significant resistance line, and when you've got the price action breaking out of a significant pattern just below that, it does cause a little bit of confusion for buyers. So ideally we would like to see a slightly stronger move up first, and then a retest back down to this area. And you could see a bounce from here. You could see a bounce from this dashed line, or even a little bit deeper retrace back down to this moving average. But we're trying to capitalize on this breakout. It's not, I would have preferred it surpass this swing high, but it hasn't done that yet. Because, I mean, if you look at these swing highs as fake outs, these move upwards as fake outs, then why is this any different? Well, it has had a bigger move out of the pattern than the previous ones, because of course the pattern is a little bit lower down here. But ideally wait for bats to come up a little bit more, and then you've got a little zone which you can look to come in on depending on how bullish you are, with a nice option to put your stop loss just below the 200 MA. So relatively comfortable. It's nice when you've got these assets which are quite low down. It means that from a risk management point of view, not a lot of terrible things can happen, because even if we do have a market crash, there's not going to be that many sellers at this point which are going to push the price action like into negative price discovery straight away. It's more likely we'll just come back down into this pattern for a little bit, or even just tap here, but then there's going to be more buyers. So coming into these areas which haven't yet popped is much better, as opposed to chasing this, because ultimately we want to be coming in, around here to catch these moves. So that's BAT, and obviously trade that as you see fit, but not the best setup. It's a B setup, I would say, for sure. But let's have a look at this next one. That's BNB. We've already looked at that. And that's a blank chart. Super. Trade the blank chart. Let's have a look at Dusk. Right. I've been watching a television series called Foundation on Apple TV. And it's part of a dynasty where you've got dawn, day, and dusk. It just reminds me of that. But this is Dusk token. Not sure that's a great name, really, for a token. A token which is ultimately talking about a sunset, right? Closing, like ending darkness. But nonetheless, we have the 8-hour chart here, and we have the 1-day 200 MA fast coming in, and we've had a break above the 200 MA. Now, just let's have a look at historically what happens when the price action manages to break above the 200 MA. Well, this is what happens. Here's the break above the 200 MA here, and away we go. Now, obviously, if you do just track back, you do get fake outs for sure, right? So this is a bit of a fake out, but it's obviously followed by a strong move. So it just does show when you do get essentially the price action popping its head above the 200 MA parapet, so to speak, that some bullish move further is coming. It's just a case of, are the sellers going to take control of the first move, or is it just going to pop straight away? So what we want to see, and we've got really nice confluence with this horizontal line here and the 1-day 200 MA, and that's really great. So if we just have a slightly stronger move up from here, then it's a very straightforward retest play, and we've got the 200 MA helping with support. Again, we need to see, you have to ask yourself, what do I need to see to enter this trade? It'd be great if this swing high, this could be surpassed for sure. So something like this maybe would be great, because then it allows the token to have some some room for the sellers to take back control. So people who've entered here will be taking profits when it's up here. But if the price action just pops its head above like this and sellers take control, thinking that, okay, it's coming back down, I'm going to take profits from my position here, then it's just going to reset all the way down here. So a slightly stronger move first, and then come in for the retrace. Ideally, surpassing this swing high would be the trigger for that, and then come in for the flip essentially of this level and the 200 MA, and that would be a really straightforward play. Now, because this is really, we've only started to see this kind of curving round, my take profit is going to be here at around 1094, right? And that is, what's that going to be? And what would that be? Perfectly healthy 50% if we get a move from there. I would need to probably, it'll be the move after this one, which I'd want to be looking at for a slightly more bullish move. If you think about this initial move here, and then once we find our feet, then the big move comes. So I'm only going to take profits here, and then if we come up like this and then come back down again, then maybe this is the move which goes up. So be very sensible with your take profit price points, and don't get carried away just because there's a ton of green candles on the chart previously. Always assess the context appropriately. But this is a good risk reward ratio, approaching 3. Get your stop loss below the previous swing low, which is very close to support. Super duper sort of stuff, and take profits there. But again, ask yourself what you need to see from that setup. And let's have a look at XRP. And I was talking about this in top altcoin picks. So looking at this chart, the 2-hour chart, we have this support level below here at around 2.7, and you'll see we've had a reversal from that on September, at the end of September, and also in July. So that would be a logical place to enter. Where are the buyers? Where are the sellers? Or rather, where are the most buyers? Where are the most sellers? And they are here, essentially. So for XRP, definitely the next the next manageable entrance point is 2.7. However, the reason why I'm not too bullish on this level where the price action is at the moment is as follows. You'll notice that if I just squidge down a little bit for XRP, we have this, what I presume is the daily 200 MA. Let me just check. I didn't label it. Yeah, the 1-day 200 MA down here below. So when you've got this so close to where the price action is, obviously when price action does appear, there's a lot of retrace here for the 200 MA to be reached, so it hasn't been reached. But if we switch to this chart, we've got the golden zone just below. So this is 2.7 at this level. So 2.7 is just this area we were just looking at here, right? So we've still got a little bit of ways to go. That's 2.7, right? But you can see that with the 200 MA on the daily swooping in for support, why are buyers coming in here? Especially considering the 200 MA on the daily is right in the middle of the golden zone, 618 0.5 area. So if I was looking to come in for XRP, I would be looking to come in probably around 2.6. Right, as a manageable entry, because you've got confidence with the 200 MA. You have a nice little liquidity dip down. The RSI will probably just start moving a little bit closer to 30, and then there's your play, and some divergence will likely turn up for that. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a bounce from current levels or even at 2.7, but you have to ask yourself, how many buyers are waiting here versus how many buyers are waiting here versus how many buyers are waiting here. And look, these are these sorts of 3 little zones we use for decision making. So this is super bullish. Am I super bullish right now at this level? No, this is more moderate. So 2.7 makes sense, right? And then you've got the 200 MA below you can use for risk management for a stop loss. That's great. Or you could scale in at 2.7 and then wait for your final entrance for 2.6 just to get that lower average price. So, you know, when you've got these setups where you've got a few options, you do have to kind of rationalize it appropriately and not get carried away. This is not a strong bounce at 2.7 at essentially 2.8, which are at 2.78. It's not a strong bounce here, showing you that the buyers are not hot on this level and we'll maybe see a stronger result from 2.7. So that's the way I look at it. So 2.7 for XRP for sure, but if you're a little bit more hesitant, 2.6 would be perfect, at least in terms of risk management. Okay, so what else we got? There is this is something I wanted to talk about as well today. total ES5, total 3 ES. Now, typically I use total 2 and total 3, which is total 2 is total crypto altcoin market cap minus Ethereum, and total 3 is total 2 total 2 is total crypto market cap including Ethereum. Total 3, not what you're looking at the moment, this is total 3 ES. Total 3 is total crypto market cap minus Ethereum, and of course none of them include Bitcoin. Now total 3 ES is a new one, and it excludes stable coins as well. So this is no Ethereum, no Bitcoin, no stable coins, which take up a significant portion of the market now. And this is just everything else, all the other altcoins, which is more representative and more accurate than one with Ethereum and stable coins. Because Ethereum is huge, of course. So if Ethereum is making huge moves, it's going to affect total 3. It's going to affect total 2 for sure. And the stablecoin market now is pretty massive, and that can obviously impact it as well. So total 3 ES, we're going to try using that forward. And if you haven't already seen this, get your chart on this because it's quite helpful. And what are we seeing on total 3 ES? Well, got to get that mic away from my desk. Coffee's cold again. We've obviously had a move up. Now, it's not following Bitcoin in the same way it has done. So you could have a retrace back down to here. This is index, remember, okay? And then you could look to enter your altcoin longs here if that's your play. Now, this is more long-term plays, of course, right? This would be an investment play because this is the 5-day chart, right? But if you want to see the state of the altcoin market or altcoin season, as Lola was asking a moment ago, if we can see a break above what is about 980 billion, if we can see a break above that, that would probably indicate continuation for the altcoin market, and that we're still going to have some love and have some of these prices increasing, because ultimately this is the previous bull run top, right? And look, we're not even. It just honestly, I don't feel the altcoins have really moved properly at all. Yeah, they just haven't. We've had these moves during the election. We had some moves following the ETF buzz back in October, but ultimately you expect that, because this is the 2017 bull run, this is the 2020 bull run, and look, this is lower down than this. And if our current altcoin season ends with this index essentially not surpassing where we were in the previous bull run, well, that's very disappointing. So it does kind of underscore and highlight these indexes can be very helpful to assess just basic questions like, is altcoin season here? Is it going to continue, etc.? Sarah, I hope I've got you pronouncing your name correctly. Could you please take a look at? Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at that. What would be the take profit target in your opinion? Okay, great question. Thank you so much for giving me something to do today. I appreciate it. So let me just make a note of that. Good crypto, this. Let's have a look. I don't think I have a chart for this open. Let's have a quick look if I've got an historical chart. There's probably one. No, let's do a fresh chart. Let's have a fresh look, which can be quite insightful, get an insight into my my work, my process. Okay, here we go. Let's go with Binance. Right, so let's just move to the daily chart. So when you're looking at any token to start with, any token at all, zoom out at least to the daily so you can get the big picture. You can understand where you are, and just put some lines in the sand to figure out where the bottom is and everything. Yeah, cool. And then take it from there. Start on the daily chart. It doesn't matter if you're going to do intraday trading on the 5-minute, start on the daily. Let's see if we've got a setup here and where we can take profits with this one if we do get a move. So the first thing is to identify a trade. And the Sarah, are you in this one? Are you in this asset? This crypto? Let us know. It'd be interesting to know where you've got in, if you have, or if you're thinking of it. Let's label this chart properly. I'm a stickler for this sort of stuff, so we know what we're looking at. For someone who drops in the live stream later. Okay, so what do we got? Let's put some moving averages on because it's not a particularly clear picture. MD, good to see you. I was wondering where you were. Thanks for dropping in. I'm sure everyone's had a very busy week. Nice to see you. How are you getting on? What are you trading at the moment, buddy? Let's have a look. Oh, John, great to see you as well. Checking in. Thank you. Appreciate the company. Thanks for being here. You know, there's 2 types of people with live. Well, there's 3 types of people with live streams. there is people who don't watch them, and there is people who watch them after the fact, and then there's people who the people who join the process, and they're always the most awesome people. So thanks so much. I include myself in that because I obviously follow other live streams, but not for crypto. So let's have a look. Okay, I'm seeing some patterns here. And let's see if we can figure out a trade and then have a look at where some profit would be. Let's have a look. We've got a floor, so this looks like a descending triangle, but don't be scared. I've seen many of descending triangles break in the opposite direction this week, so don't worry about that. Yeah, okay, so just getting a feel for it. I'm on the daily chart still, just getting a feel for where we are. Okay, so we've got some idea of what we're looking at. Okay, so let's make this, let's just gussy this up a little bit. That's some very old English language. Gussy it up. Now that should be red. Here we go. So there's resistance. That's significant resistance. As you can see, that's pretty much the most obvious long-term take profit price point, and that's around 680, 670. I don't know why I can't. Yeah, 686, around 680. 675. Yeah, that would be the most obvious place to take profits from any position. And that doesn't mean, of course, that we're not going to head higher from here, but until you've got confirmation of a move above this area, that's where you want to take profits, or at least take some, right? Or offset your position slightly. But let's have a look what the scenarios are for entrances for this particular token. And this is what I spend my day doing to provide all these charts for you guys. So this floor here, that's a nice place to come in. We've got solid touches back in June and October, which is lovely, which means, of course, that this is a very strong base. The bottom is down here as well, so not too bad. So if Bitcoin does pull back a little bit, and we were only back down here in September, so maybe coming back down to form a double bottom would be a good little entrance point. You can help form that pattern. That would be the safest. There it is again. There's that word. That would be the safest option in terms of risk management, because you'll notice that the price action doesn't tend to stay down here very often. It bounces and then recovers. So if you're coming in flush at this level here at around 290, then even if it does head lower, which will be a possibility, you're going to get that bearish retest, which will give you a no loss exit, which is what you want. You've got to use the volatility to your advantage. But so you've got that entrance at 295, 290. That would be great. The moving average is not being particularly helpful. It's stuck in the middle of no man's land, but it looks like we have had some moves. Let's have a look at the RSI on the daily chart. Yeah, okay, we're approaching oversold at the moment, which means that, I mean, we could break out. In fact, that's quite interesting. Hang on, let me just have a look at this. I'm just doing right. Okay, so there's a clue. Here's a clue. So we have 2 points on the RSI which have formed this upper diagonal trend line. Now, it's not that, it's that. Okay, and the RSI is breaking above it. Right, and the RSI can give you an indication of what the price action is going to do. Now we're having a move at the moment from Teo, and we haven't had a breakout of the pattern, but we have had a breakout of the pattern on the RSI. And if you look actually on the RSI, it is a lovely mirror, right, of the price action. So here we go. There's that descending triangle again, but the RSI has broken out where the price action hasn't. So that could be an indication that we are going to get a breakout from here. See this sort of stuff all the time. So if you do see a break, then this is a beautiful pocket to come in on. And that pocket, now this is a long-term chart, of course. So, you know, that'll be 20th of November. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but you want to see a strong breakout, preferably something like this to surpass these previous swing highs. And then you've got options to come in on. And you might be like, well, I don't want to wait till the end of October or November. Well, you know, there's other plays. So let's zoom in. But ultimately, I think a support buy here until we have a breakout is the safest option. However, we may get a breakout, and then if you see that, have something with volume, maybe surpassing this at the very least, and then look to come back down at this area. Ideally, I mean, you want to look for pockets ultimately, but if we do get a move up, you might see the 200 MA creeping up here to create you another pocket a little bit closer in terms of a couple of weeks' time. So that might be your play, but always look for confluence. So that'd be one set of buyers on the flip and another set of buyers. So that might be coming. We might be getting a move out of this for now. But in terms of take profit, certainly 685 to answer your question in the most long-winded way possible. So I hope that helps. Sarah, any other questions, let me know. But yeah, that might pop. pop soon. But if you see some of the other setups we've been looking at this week, look, here's APT. Look at that lovely flush 200 MA moving average with the breakout, and the pocket's already here. With this one, unfortunately, we haven't quite got everything lined up properly yet, but the RSI is quite telling. So now we've had that move, a retrace back down to support would be even safer. There's that word again, because we've had bullish confirmation of a potential breakout, at least on the RSI, meaning there'll be probably more buyers looking to front run the base. So yeah, a few options there, but here's the line in the sand. So take a snapshot of that if you so choose. Right, well, God, I've been talking for 45 minutes and it's a Friday. So any other immediate burning questions, please let me know before we sign off. But let's just have a look at a couple of other things to highlight, couple of things before we pass on. Let's have a look. No, let's get rid of that. What else we got? It was something I just wanted to mention. So yeah, just APT, talking about you want something to trade now. APT's rocking it right now. Really great sort of pocket to enter on. We just need Bitcoin to either stay still with a bullish posture or go up. So if there's three options for Bitcoin right now, there is go up, bounce from where we are, sit pretty where we are and just range for a little bit, or go down. So what do I need for APT to bounce from here? I need Bitcoin to either go up or to sit pretty with bullish posture. And if it does that, and then Bitcoin dominance comes down a little bit, APT will move, which means we have probabilities, ladies and gentlemen, a 66% chance that APT will move in our favor. Now, obviously, we look at Bitcoin and we think a retrace to 118K, as we've established, is on the cards. But nonetheless, these are the sort of mental processes you need to think about when you're dealing with these things. Because obviously, when Bitcoin was where it was a few days ago, we didn't have that. We had what are the options for Bitcoin? We had Bitcoin could go higher, but people aren't going to enter their altcoin positions if it does that. We need Bitcoin to come back down a little bit. And when Bitcoin was where it was a few days ago, also, there's so much fear that it's going to tank, it's going to come back down, people aren't going to enter the altcoin positions. But now we've had a bit of a retrace, we start to see people looking to enter their positions, and we have a few more options in terms of what Bitcoin can give us over the next few days. John, thanks for the comment, John. Is this participation for members only? I don't think so. I don't think so. Do you want to maybe qualify your question a bit more? Sorry if I'm being a bit dumb about what you mean. I'm just getting used to how all the membership programs and everything work here. And are you a member, John, of ArcisFX YouTube channel? Just let us know. Just give me a bit of information. Because if you are, I've got a question for you. so that's APT. Oh, I know I paid for the service. All right, that's because you got the crown. Right. John, let me ask you this question. What sort of content would you like to see in the members area, right? Because I know obviously James was doing some wonderful regular content for commodities and so forth. What could I do for you members going forward? We're still doing a lot of development work on the long form content, but I'm very keen and very aware that loyal members need a bit of love. So if you've got any ideas, feel free to let me know now or shoot a message in one of the comments on the YouTube videos, because I am thinking about you guys, you members, and how we can serve you going forward. I mean, all we're doing at the moment is I'm releasing the long form videos like Bitcoin update and altcoin picks to the members just an hour earlier. It's obviously time sensitive content, so I can't release it a day before, but I realize that's not quite good enough in terms of what the members deserve. So if you have any ideas of the sort of content you can have, which is exclusive to members on YouTube, please let me know. Sort of information which would be really good to hear. You're very good, all is good. Just for me as a new member, I don't know how to navigate through it all of the service. You and me both. You and me both. We'll work it out together. Wormholes in play at the moment, a little bit of pressure, but the great thing about Wormhole is, and we've been talking about Wormhole for ages, but you notice we still have maintained an uptrend. Now it looks like we might be dipping a little bit lower down from this diagonal trend line, which is a little bit unfortunate. But the good thing is, and the reason why Wormhole was a setup we were paying attention to, is because we've got the 50 coming in as support and the 200 as well. But it looks like Wormhole may give us a bit of a reset at this point, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next. 30 years, John. Great. Wow. What sort of things were you trading? What sort of things have you been trading over the last few years? Because obviously crypto is a relatively new thing. So what's been your thing? And you're thinking of pivoting a little bit into crypto? Do you do a lot of crypto trading? Let us know. Good to see you and hear from that. 30 years. Wow. It's a lot of experience. It'd be great to have a chat. Maybe you could teach me a thing or two. So yeah, so be cautious with W, obviously, but as we've talked about, we have quite a little bit of some support coming in there. And is there anything else we need to talk about? No, check out Altcoin Picks for that. So yeah, a few setups to pay attention to, and I've gone into more details about some of the setups which we're looking at this week in Altcoin Picks. So check that video out. This is BAN as well. This is sort of coming into play on this diagonal support line. BAN, this is Comedian token. So there's quite a few options here potentially, but the key thing is, I think the most important thing is, let's just see if I can do this media thing, which I always do. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so the most important thing at the moment to leave you with on this Friday is that you need to dominant to as the last 2 or 3 weeks actually hasn't been too great for altcoins, simply because Bitcoin has been making some very dangerous moves in terms of the way it's progressing, and Bitcoin dominance is reflecting that. What we want to see, of course, is Bitcoin to calm down, which will then be reflected with Bitcoin dominance. So this is the sort of thing you want to be paying attention to. Keep your eye on Bitcoin dominance. We've got that, of course, that pennant we were looking at, which you need to chart and pay attention to, because if you get a break lower, that could be a signal for you to enter some of your trades. And of course, with Bitcoin, we are very, very keen to have it find its feet. And even though we've got some divergence popping up, 118k still seems to be on the cards. But John and anyone else who's paying attention, crypto trading is new to you, but you're right to be paying attention, because crypto, of course, is the future. Blockchain technology and the assets which inhabit it are the future. And if you guys can get a leg up with me at ArcisFX and work out what crypto is ahead of the curve, before people know they need experts, you'll be one ready and waiting, and certainly be able to benefit from the market going forward, because ultimately crypto is so new. It's so new. And even though you can look at, well, crypto has been around since 2008. Yes, it has, but it hasn't been mainstream, and it certainly hasn't been regulated in the way it is. So there's going to be lots of fun, especially if you look at the context of regular assets like the NASDAQ and everything being traded on the blockchain with Coinbase and stuff. This is the future. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. Always a great pleasure to natter and hear some of your feedback. But I think we'll call it there. So thank you so much for everyone who's been paying attention. And of course, if you're not in the private group, consider joining, because it's a wonderful community. You've got James in there supporting everyone with all the commodities and everything. But I'll be back next Friday for another stream for your questions. And of course, you've got Bitcoin Update coming out on Tuesday, and some more amazing altcoin picks next week at the back end as well. But that's it for now. Safe trading over the weekend. You know what you need to pay attention for: Bitcoin. Don't chase it. No FOMO. And I'll see you next week. Take care for now. Thanks, everybody.